Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BTC sessions. My first live stream in quite some time. I've got special guest Kenn Bosak here. Hey, Ken, how's it going?
How goes it, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Glad I could do it. We're here to just chat some current events. What's going on? We figured it's been some time since we got to chat together, so why not? Let's catch up and see what's going on. There's been a couple interesting stories the past few days here. I think the first one I wanted to touch on was fake Satoshi getting sued for $10 billion. Did you hear about this?
That is a lot of money. And I feel like any judge that sees this case is going to see that amount of money and go, this is preposterous. Until you realize that we're talking cryptocurrencies and we're talking thousands of percents in gains in months or years. So I'm kind of concerned about the amount of money being asked, because any judge is going to be taken back by that $10 billion number and not consider the technology behind the actual asset that's being sued for. And then there's the whole proof, right? You have to prove that these are your coins and that they were stolen. And it's going to be like, this is the case of crypto's lifetime, the crypto lawsuit echo chamber, if you will. I think this will set the legal standard and the precedent for future incidents like this, especially when we look at exchanges getting hacked and how we'll have to handle that when it is regulated. Because right now the exchanges aren't responsible, they're not insured. If anything goes wrong, it's on you, the end user. But once these exchanges are regulated and insured, and some hacker steals my Bitcoin from an exchange, I can prove that that hacker has my Bitcoin on his public address. These court cases, it's going to be interesting. But Craig Wright is in a position now where he says that he doesn't have to show proof of who he claims to be. But this lawsuit may be putting his arm behind his back in knots. And if he isn't Satoshi, he stands to lose a $10 billion lawsuit. I don't know, man. I think that might be worth opening up that wallet and signing a message with that key.
Yeah, and that's what it begs the question: does he does he have any proof? I'm just going to go ahead and say no.
Is there an auger prediction market for this? Like, can I bet some rep on him not ever just like having any proof of this? I feel like this is a surefire win for the prediction market.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw the GQ interview of Craig Wright, but basically they brought him in to interview him to ask him about being Satoshi, and asked him to again like kind of show the proof that he was Satoshi, but he didn't realize that they were bringing in a cryptographer with them to check the work, and as he did it, the cryptographer was like, "Well, you've proven nothing really. Like I'm just telling you," and he was livid, and he just started swearing and basically told him to F off. And it was ridiculous how upset he got over them checking his work. Like, I mean, you're making a claim to be the man that created cryptocurrency and the blockchain, and you're mad that people want to double check that you are. Like, that's the whole idea behind cryptocurrency. Don't trust, verify.
Right.
So anyways, here's the lowdown of what the lawsuit is. Essentially, the brother of, what's the guy's name here?
Oh, Ira, something with a K. Yeah, his brother Dave, who passed away from MRSA in 2014, man. And what Craig Wright did, I guess, basically was he forged documents that in a way transferred ownership of not just assets like Bitcoin, the 1.1 million Bitcoin, but also intellectual property of patents on Bitcoin technology and blockchain technologies that was designed during the time of Bitcoin's inception. So Craig Wright didn't just, steal. I have to say steal because it hasn't been proven to steal it yet. He didn't just steal Bitcoin. He stole intellectual property and rights to that property through these falsely documented and forged signatured paperwork of David Kerr, something with a K. God, I can't remember.
David Kleiman.
Kleiman,
Yeah.
thank you. It's crazy. His brother Ira is suing on his behalf because of his brother Dave passing away, can't defend himself. And basically, Craig's just getting away scot-free because the level of intellect that you need to prove something like this, it's very few and far. And again, in the court case, we don't have cryptocurrency investigative lawyers and stuff like that. Like, this is all new. We're literally in the mix of creating something so different. We don't have any offense, we don't have any defense because there hasn't been any play on the field long enough. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a little worried. Even if, what if he is Satoshi, right? Other than putting himself in a very vulnerable position of literally proving, hey, I'm Craig Wright, I am Satoshi, here's everything you need to prove it. He puts himself in a position to be the most wanted man in the world by any criminal. Let me kidnap Craig Wright and get those private keys. I don't want that to happen to him if it is whatever it is. But the fact that he's going to have to prove where these coins came from and have to answer, I mean, the dates that were falsified on the documents giving him the intellectual property and the Bitcoin through these events, that's undeniably forged. Like, they have said, these dates and signatures are forged. So I'm interested to see what legal repercussions there are for that, and then see where the proof can come in of, was it stolen, was it not stolen?
Yeah,
a dead man can't sign any documents. It's not possible.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw, but the blog on WizSec did kind of like a rundown of what they believe to have happened with this lawsuit, and kind of dissected it and looked at some of the addresses that are claimed to be owned by Dave/Craig, and it's pretty fishy, some of the stuff here that pops up here. So just looking at some of the addresses, there's 110,000 BTC sitting in an address that is just that owns was owned or associated with an entirely unrelated user of Mt. Gox. There's another 50,000 Bitcoin sitting in, basically it's descended from what Mark Karpellis used to prove solvency of Mt. Gox. So it's somewhere in that line of oh yeah, we have the coin. So it's descended from there. There's another one that is actually 250,000 Bitcoin that were actually owned by Jed McCaleb, who's the one who originally created Mt. Gox and then sold it to Karpellis.
So Craig Wright is in possession of Mt. Gox Bitcoin.
Well, that's the thing, right? So a lot of these addresses that are listed are either like Mt. Gox cold storage, or different users. Actually, they had to erase a couple of the names because one of the names that was on here earlier was Roger Ver, but clearly maybe he wasn't very happy about that. Anyways, the names were removed from the individual users of the wallets that were implicated here, and then some of them are actually addresses that held or are holding the stolen funds from Mt. Gox. So basically, there's one of two things here: either the lawsuit and Craig Wright are essentially full of shit, and they never owned any of these, or they've implicated themselves in the stealing of all the Mt. Gox funds. So take your pick, but either one isn't great. And so, like the very end of this article here.
That's an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist, by the way.
Yeah,
what a twist.
Like, what is going on? So like my favorite part of the whole rundown here, the whole article, is, put simply, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Fortunately, thanks to Bitcoin, that's now as easy as a single cryptographic signature. Funny how Wright has never provided one. So
maybe that's why he won't officially prove he owns these coins, because that would be his indictment right there.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean,
That's a rock and a hard place. Again, with the whole being sued, being in a position where, you know, you may be legally obligated to provide proof and more information than you may want to, that freedom of want may be put to the back burner, and you may be forced to provide proof. I don't know, man. Maybe this is where we see Craig Wright do that whole disappearing act, and the coins move into a Monero exchange, and next thing you know, he has plastic surgery and looks like, you know, Tupac on some beach somewhere, for all we know. That's a lot of money. You can disappear with some of that crypto, and the fact that crypto is that liquid, and we can use things like Monero. Maybe this is his retirement plan being forced into action.
His swan song, yeah. I don't know. It's funny. As long as he's been around, he's been claiming he'll never be seen on camera again. But he keeps on, you know, trying to steal the spotlight from everybody else and being pretty vocal. So I feel like he's gonna stick around. He'll either. I don't know. It's hella interesting, but okay. I'm done with fake.
My official bet is that he will end up either in jail or claim the inability to prove that he has access to these funds. So, oh, I lost my private keys, or he goes to jail. I think those are the outcomes.
Yeah, well, because I mean, yeah, in the court of law, it'll be either prove that you are this person. But I guess
no, contempt of court. He will just be deemed uncompliant. He will not comply with the court's orders, and they'll deem him incompliant. If he says, I can't do this, they won't believe him, and they will say, you are clearly lying. You are violating, you know, the court's terms, and they'll have him in a position where they scare the shit out of him, I think.
The issue, though, is how do you prove that you don't have something you don't have, right? Like if you said, prove to me that you own this this wallet by signing something with your private key, and I actually don't have the private key, and I say, well, I can't do that, and then somebody says, well, you're lying, you're going to jail. Like that, it doesn't. I feel like that wouldn't hold up, because you can't prove that you don't have something. You can only prove that somebody does have something. Like I could say that I've got $1 million in cash buried somewhere.
But the evidence leading up to it is so heavy that you have to prove your way out of it. Not, you know, like the whole innocent until proven guilty thing works up into a point of where motive and the evidence at hand, the forged dates, the forged signatures on documents. There's enough put in place where you have to prove your way out of this.
The forged signatures were done through a program, actually. So it wasn't even his right. So it was like it was a program that allowed him to.
He is good, man. That is next level good.
So it wouldn't even have his handwriting or anything like that. He couldn't even do, I guess, analysis on the actual writing. So yeah, this is
the start of a digital investigative error where we need, you know, private key, private eyes.
yeah, pretty much. Okay, so screw fake Satoshi. Let's move on. There's something else interesting that happened on Monday. It was announced that the Goldman Sachs-backed Circle acquired Poloniex.
Yeah, dude.
So Circle bought Poloniex, and so they bought it for $400 million, which I was actually surprised. I actually thought that was low, to tell you the truth.
Really? I thought that was a lot of money, man. I mean, considering they could have just bought some Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, true.
They could have just bought Bitcoin, but they went and bought a Bitcoin exchange.
Yeah. Well, what they're really buying, though, is every customer on Poloniex, which is all revenue generating. So they're not having to start from scratch.
I miss Circle, man. Whatever happened to Circle Pay being the shit? Like, I used to use it so often.
Well, they ditched Bitcoin in late 2016. They were just like,
right in the boom. Like, oh, this is getting too popular for us. We got to walk away. I used to use Circle Pay to send my friends money all the time because of that zero fee conversion to US dollar. Like, if I sent you $5, you got $5, and you can convert it to $5 fiat right away.
Yeah, and it was so it was just such a user-friendly experience. Like it was nice that I could have a friend that was like, oh, I want to play around Bitcoin a little bit, and they could just get a Circle account, and it would be instant. It looked nice. It was intuitive. It was simple. And then they just pivoted. The thing is,
Jeremy, that pivot was in track of this acquisition. You know, hey, we're gonna try to make. Or do you think them dropping the ball opened their eyes to this acquisition?
I think what they did is because realistically, if you think late 2016, there wasn't, and I'm talking like kind of November, around that time, there wasn't really too much of a hint that 2017 was going to be like it was. It still hadn't tapped $1,000 yet. Like it was still, like $800-900, which was good, but it still hadn't even come close to the 2013 all-time highs yet. So they pivoted away, probably assuming that Bitcoin was just going to kind of flounder around where it was. And then the next year hit and it was insane. And they probably realized, oh, never mind. I guess we kind of capitulated to, yeah. So anyways, they jump back in, but I mean, they waited till the end of the beginning of 2018. They missed all of the business they could have had through 2017. That was a huge mess up on their part. Like had they been part of the industry, then they would have made tons. They were just saying, what was it? Oh, Coinbase. It was something like 40% of their revenue for 2017 happened in December. Which is crazy.
So this is a whole we dropped the ball, we're missing out, we got to get in on this action kind of move, right? Like
I think so, but I'm also curious how much of a hand Goldman Sachs had in this move, because like they're backing Circle now. And so is Goldman Sachs being like, hey,
well, guys, did Circle have $400 million, or did they say, hey, Goldman Sachs, can we borrow some money?
Yeah.
So yeah, the money probably came from the investors behind Circle. I wonder if it's I try to think the whole like crypto conspiracy route, where what if this is a move to dismantle Poloniex, one of the most beloved exchanges ever? What if this is the whole we just shut down the exchange. Oh, and we got all your private keys, guys, because, you left your private keys on our exchange. We were hacked. We didn't know what we were doing. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like worst case scenario here. Yeah. And like that is really it. Like they just disappear or they drop the ball and something goes wrong, or when they hand over the ownership, something happens and keys are stolen from an ex-Poloniex employee. Like anything is possible in this. So that's where I'm like a little worried that it could be a weird exit strategy for Poloniex, because first, why did you sell for so low? Like you said, 400 million sounds like a lot, but not in crypto. That's not that much in crypto. Yeah. So Poloniex could have somebody on the inside with a kill switch, like, hey, as soon as we hand over ownership, we no longer have any access. Something goes wrong, and all those private keys are ours now, guys.
I guess more or less the scary thing about any of these acquisitions or when you have a situation where there might be employees let go or anything like that, depending on who sticks around, who are the people that have access to keys and stuff like this? And this is across the industry, right? The private keys, that's something that really needs to be taken close care of. And I mean, if Circle is at all responsible here, what they would do is during the transition is say that, okay, all funds need to be reallocated to these wallets during the course of the transition, so that the old private keys have no value anymore. They would have to be doing that. So you'd have to be seeing large amounts of crypto moving around in order to know that the transition was a safe one. But I'm looking at kind of what Circle is, I guess what they're talking about doing here is they want, it sounds like they want to create something where a lot of different assets are just are all in one place. Like right now, there's cash markets, there's crypto markets, there's
Oh, please let them do this.
yeah, and stocks and all this stuff. So they're talking about here about having a market look like Poloniex. I guess they're calling it like Circle X right now or something.
That would be cool. I like it already.
Yeah.
It's like Brad Jelena.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so they're saying it would be nice if you could log on somewhere and you could, one, have fiat currency, a variety of fiat currencies, two, have access to Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies, and other digital assets, and three, have access to digitally represented stocks, like tokenized stocks, kind of like
securities and stuff like that are tokenized.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Tokenized securities, exactly. So, but all in one place. So you could have your investments in different things, different currencies.
Game changer, man.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. The one thing that I'm curious about here, though, is they've made comments about staying within regulatory frameworks. So does that mean within this, does that mean that there's going to be a number of assets on Poloniex that have to be delisted because of this?
Shit, hell yeah! Any privacy coin's gone then, right? I mean, that's a given. If they want to stay within regulation terms, you can't move money that can't be tracked intentionally.
Yeah. And that's the other tough thing about that too, is, I mean, Lightning Network has been growing quite a bit on Bitcoin, and it very much anonymizes movement of coins. So
yeah, it does.
If somebody starts wanting to deposit Bitcoin and it's coming from the Lightning Network, you can't really track who that came from, because every hop is routed through Tor and the Onion network, or Onion routing, and so you don't know. Basically, every hop is anonymous. So does that throw a wrench in their plan, or people?
You know what? Maybe this will bring them to lobby for the regulation that best in interest their business model, right? I mean, they could lobby against something that's against their business model, but now this is their business model. $400 million. I mean, dude, they could throw a couple million at a senator to get some shit liquefied, make it slide and lube it up a little bit. That's what these companies do. I mean, Goldman Sachs didn't put their name on it. They put a company's name on it that they're a company too, Circle. So I see that amount of money in this kind of a move being that kind of power move that puts other people in positions that aren't Goldman Sachs, but they're competitors, at a disadvantage where they need to get into the space faster. Somebody's got to buy Kraken. Somebody's got to buy Gemini. Somebody's going to buy this. Somebody's going to have to buy that. At the end of the day, there's only a couple thousand stocks. There used to be thousands. Companies acquire companies, acquire companies. They become umbrellas. I see that happening with crypto, and those umbrellas, they got politicians, senators, they got all this lobbying in their wheelhouse. So maybe this is that reverse effect where they now start throwing money at senators, politicians that are pro crypto, so they can continue to be the Poloniex that they bought.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting seeing this convergence of crypto investing and traditional investing right now, like the idea that stocks and cryptos could be in one place. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that it's kind of like you're one or the other. Like that right now, there's a lot of people that I see that are just investing in crypto because it's kind of it's just open to anybody, and like once you're in, it's simple to do. And then there's a lot of people that I see that are just invested in stocks, and they worry about making the jump to crypto, and so they just kind of stay with what they know. Like it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And I mean, then there's people that want to be invested in the space, that are in traditional investing but want to kind of stick to like crypto related stocks rather than investing in the currencies themselves. So I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm not too interested in stocks, and I love the argument. Like you said, there seems to be like this weird tribal mentality to like stocks versus cryptos. It's almost as like that technology gap between like books and movies. Like, we love books, we love movies, we hate you. Stocks versus cryptos. And then you have that weird gray area where there are stocks that are backed by cryptocurrency technologies. Segue into a a stock I've been looking at stocks that are backed by crypto, not just like Long Island blockchain, but like companies that actually own or have some kind of like foothold on blockchain technology, but they're a traded stock on the Canadian or American exchanges. Right now, I've been looking at one called DMG blockchain. If anybody listening wants to find out more info than the blurb I have, it's pureblockchainwealth.com/chain, and it's DMG Blockchain Solutions. Basically, I've been looking for stocks that are cryptocurrency companies, or in a sense have that, because traditional investors, until they can buy Bitcoin and they know exactly what's going to happen to them with taxes and trading fee and all these regulations and stuff that need to be put in place, we are waiting for when Lambo, right? Like when Lambo.
Yeah, exactly.
I am talking about the people that already have the Lambo and they're trying to get into crypto. They're not getting into crypto saying when Lambo. They already have the Lambo. So those people that we want to bring into crypto, because once those people that already own the Lambo come in, we get our Lambo. How they're coming in, though, is they're coming in through traditional stock options that are backed with cryptocurrency technologies. So DMG blockchain is basically a MAAS. They do mining as a service, and they do it at a fixed rate. So like, I was interested when I found out this even existed, but basically imagine a mining company that sells you Bitcoin as it's mined. So it's like completely virgin coin, but you pay at a fixed price what it is. So if Bitcoin's going for $10,000 on the open market, you want us to mine you a virgin coin, we're going to charge you $15,000, and you'll probably be fine with that. Most likely because you're Japanese, because that's where their biggest market is right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, it's I've been checking this out, and like what they're doing is basically selling fixed rate mining contracts, and that's almost an intentional workaround of the Bitcoin price dipping and affecting your company's business model. People are going to want completely virgin coins regardless, most likely at any price within reason, because we still say, hey, Bitcoin could go to $50,000 this year easily. So an extra $5,000 on top for that AML worthy cryptocurrency that has no transaction history, it's a little bit more worth that. And these companies that are taking care of that, I think this is where we're going to get the suit and tie guys dipping their toe in. They're going to learn more about the actual things that these companies are invested in when it comes to blockchain. But it's going to start with stock options first. I talk to people all the time, and a lot of them say, look, I got stocks. I can rent my stocks out to somebody else, and I make money on that. So I'm not just owning these stocks, I'm actually renting them out. So my money makes me more money. How do I do that with Bitcoin? Most of the time people will say, hey, BitConnect.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, man. And so that's what these investors want. They want to buy Bitcoin. They want to rent you your Bitcoin, and they want to make more Bitcoin. They don't just want to hold Bitcoin and make more dollars. So these stock options are definitely what I'm interested in right now. And I think you're right. I think that this mixture where Circle and Poloniex with Goldman Sachs is going, that's going to be that orgy we've been waiting for, and the baby birth of it will be those security tokens that sound so normal that stocks are almost as weird as precious metals being used to buy bread, eggs, and milk today.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting convergence of the old and the new right now. I'm curious to see where this goes in the next few years, because I mean, traditional markets are going to have to grapple with the idea that this stuff isn't getting less anonymous; it's becoming more anonymous, and that's going to be like moving forward. I think that's going to end up being the standard.
Yeah. Did you claim your Bitcoin private? Speaking of privacy.
I don't think you can yet. I know that they did the snapshot, but I think it's still another couple days until you can access it. So I'm kind of watching that. I haven't even looked to see if there's like a futures market on it or anything. I have no idea what the value of it is. But if it's worth anything, which it seems like it will be, it seems like there's a bit of buzz around it, then I'll try to safely claim it. I just gotta figure out the easiest way to do that. It's always a risk with these things. Hey,
Oh
like
yeah.
you just don't want to. You want to make sure that your coins are safe. You want to. Yeah.
I'm afraid of replay and double spends and shit like that. Like I am terrified of forking a coin, sending that forked coin to an exchange, and it just pulling my original coin with it.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And that's why I completely ignored Litecoin Cash, by the way. I didn't even give it the light of day. I did not pay one bit. I probably said the word Litecoin Cash 5 times ever, and this was 2 of them right here.
Yeah. Awesome. And I guess the other thing that I wanted to touch on was just kind of the general markets right now. Like I'm looking, I mean, Bitcoin is up a little bit from the last few days. I mean, it went up to,
well, that Goldman Sachs news. That's what it jumped up $1,000 and some change right after that.
Yeah. Like it's now what, like 10.6 or something like that.
Yeah, around there.
But it was up around 11 last night for a little while. I mean, today everything's down a little bit, it looks like, but I mean, it's been a pretty good run the past week or so.
Yeah, so I was thinking the past week has been pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm undecided as to, I'm still very much undecided as to whether this is another 2014 or if we've kind of passed that point of no return and it's just going to be, you know, there'll be dips, but it's, you know, things are happening quicker. I've kind of looked and been trying to compare what the years look like. And I mean, like 2014, yeah, we had the top at near the end of 2013 and then some crashes. And then it went up pretty high in and around, I think, May of 2014. So like 5 months after the all-time high, or 6 months after, which if that happened again, we'd probably be looking at 16 or 17K in and around that time. But then the rest of the year would kind of suck.
That's why I don't look at charts.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's interesting. I mean, I guess we wouldn't really know until we hit that 16, 17K level. And if it bounced back down, then my guess is it would just kind of be a crap year. And then it'd be a hell of a buying opportunity next January or something. Cause that was kind of the low.
Well, we had the announcement of SegWit integration to the Bitcoin blockchain announced. That was a good run movement. You know, there's a lot of news being announced. And now, I mean, Bitcoin hit $19,000, almost $20,000 before Coinbase and Bittrex said, hey, we're going to have SegWit addresses for Bitcoin. We're going to Shapeshift just announced or released an announcement yesterday. Almost 2 to 3% of all Bitcoin transactions are now being batched. Yeah. That is great, dude. That's a lot of stress being taken off the blockchain.
That's why 1 Satoshi per byte transactions are getting through no problem now.
At 20 cents. Oh man, I basically paid my rent in a Bitcoin transaction for 20 cents. It was oh my God. And we, like you said earlier, Lightning Network's in the works. I think that if people take away the chart or even look at the chart, but put like historical facts like on there, like we had a green candle this month because of SegWit. We had a red candle this month because of the Bitfinex hack or whatever, Bittrex exited or the US. So all the chart moves because of the actual technology itself moving either up or down in adoption or in quality of technology. Yeah. So I don't look at the chart and look, last year looked like this. I kind of look at the chart and go, this is when the yuan collapsed. And this is when in India, they deleted the $150 bill. And, you know, I look at the moves behind that. And I think with Lightning Network, with SegWit coming, then Lightning Network and all these batch transactions and everything that is going down, the fact that we hit $20,000 without Bitcoin being this useful or this used or this easy to get access to. I mean, Robinhood had 2 million people sign up pre-register.
That's insane.
That's not a joke. That is an insane amount of people. So I think Bitcoin could easily pass that previous all-time high due to all those factors: the technology increase, the use case increase, the ease of entry increase. It's still fucking difficult to buy Bitcoin. Like, it's not easy, especially if you don't even use a mobile banking app. Like, if you never use Wells Fargo app, good friggin' luck understanding how to use Coinbase. And the people we want to get in are those people who have no clue about mobile wallets or mobile banking or any of that. So once Circle Pay has some weird Circle X thing that traditional market can use to move in, I can see Bitcoin easily passing these all-time highs. It's almost inevitable. The only thing that worries me is, hey, we're using Lightning Network. It's on the main net. We're getting a lot of use. And then there's a vulnerability, there's a bug, a lot of the nodes are attacked, or whatever the case may be. People are losing value in transactions because channels are being closed between each other, whatever. Yeah, that is the only thing that would concern me. Something negative about the technology, not negative in the charts.
Yeah, I think I kind of use it's tough. Like the news of the day, I think, drives the price of the price of the week or whatever, or like short term for the month or whatever. But then I think that when I look at the technicals, I think it's more relevant long term. At least for me, I'm not a day trader. I don't like doing the day trading. I'm terrible at it. But I try to look at the general trends. I feel like Bitcoin is a little bit cyclical because of the nature of the supply getting halved every 4 years. And so there is that kind of ebb and flow to the markets. And I think partly people choose what news they're going to focus on based on like the general sentiment of the crowd, unless it's like earth shattering news on the good or bad side. But yeah, like it is very interesting to see how certain things affect it and how other things don't affect it at all. But I do notice that when we're not constantly hitting all-time highs, that's when shit seems to get done. That's when people start building stuff. Well, not start, but that's when you start to actually see things get accomplished. And it's nice because if you're actually like into crypto, you're into Bitcoin, you're into all of this stuff, when you're not constantly stoked that it's shooting to the moon, you can be constantly stoked that so much is being built. And that's my favorite part about the space, because it's exciting when the price goes up, but it's also hella exciting seeing maps of the Lightning Network and it's just spider webbed across and interconnected, and it's unbelievable. So I don't know. I'm just happy to be here.
That's what. Hey guys, look, if you are tired of reading the charts, this is exactly what you should be reading. Bitcoin books.
Yes.
This is going to do you so much better than looking at any TA, any chart, anything. Get to know the technology, and you'll have a stronger hand when holding. See? Right there, we are the age of the cryptocurrency, man. I love that.
These guys, they just released. So this was a really good one, actually. I read this. I think it came out 2 years ago or something like that. Maybe 20. I can't even remember. Anyways, yeah. So I read this a couple of years ago, and these guys just released another book. I think it came out today or yesterday. Anyways, it's called The Truth Machine. But also, again, Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain related. Really, really good. The other one that I like is called Crypto Assets.
Jack Tater, man. That's my boy.
Yeah. So I've been reading through that, and that one's really, really useful as well.
He wrote this book. This is the first book ever written about Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
Jack Tater. Yeah, he wrote this. Actually, I've met Jack, and I've interviewed him in person and hung out, and I interviewed him on my show. Great guy, and I love that he is the type of person that used to be total stocks, minerals, traditional investment mentality, and then he researched the technology behind Bitcoin and blockchain, and he just you can't close that box, that Pandora's box once it's opened. And I love seeing how enthusiastic he is about people putting their IRA or 401k just a bit into crypto. I think he's helping people move 10 to 20%. So if you guys need any help with your IRA, 401k, moving that into crypto, Jack Tater is the guy.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Cool. Well, I've got to wrap up here. Reason being is there's an interesting show that's going to be. I think it's starting right around now. So anybody watching this right now, I'm gonna plug this other live stream. I think that's just starting up. Their Tone Vase is interviewing Richard Hart. And they're talking about his recent switch from being a Bitcoin maximalist to not being a Bitcoin maximalist. Also, Richard Hart is launching an ICO, apparently.
I didn't know that. I got to watch this now.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you saw any of the interview with Richard Hart on Ivan on Tech, but he basically seemingly like overnight, and by overnight, I mean over the course of a few weeks, as Bitcoin was coming down from all-time highs and then like just about to drop down to like when it went to what, 6, I think. Yeah. He basically pivoted and became not a Bitcoin maximalist. Now, I really like Richard Hart. I think he's a super smart guy. He's got a lot of great things to say. I happen to disagree with him on a number of points in that Ivan on Tech interview. But I still think he's a really great guy. It seems a little bit though like he got burned trading on leverage, and he really screwed himself. He said in the interview himself that he lost a ton of money because, you know, he seemed to have been trading on leverage, making Bitcoin longs every time it was dropping 30%. But the problem was normally the past year it would bounce from that and go up and hit new all-time highs, but it did like 3 or 4 of those drops in a row. And if he was on leverage, then he got screwed. So, I mean, that could do a lot to break anybody's spirit. So, I feel for the guy, but I mean,
I don't know if I would go the route of starting my own ICO to make my money back, but
yeah, and that's the thing. His reasoning was he thought that all of the current ICOs or most of them were shit, and he's like, the only way to fight back against that is to make legit actual technology that will do something. Now,
that's an interesting. I mean, dude, how much money do these ICOs have? You know, millions of market cap, if not billions.
Well, and the other interesting thing too, that this just came out. This is probably the last point I touch on, but there was a study done, and something like, I think it was 46% of all ICOs that started last year have already failed. And that's not including the projects that have stopped publicly conversing with anybody. So basically that have ghosted everyone. And that doesn't count the projects that essentially have such a small community that they won't be successful. If you extrapolate out to those numbers, it would be 59% of ICOs from last year have failed.
Whoa. Wow, the odds are not in your favor, guys. Don't be gambling on these ICOs.
And that's within a year, right? Like give it another year and see how many of the 2017 ICOs.
And you know what's scary? They have, like you said, they have nobody. The project development has walked away. But how many of them went to zero? Like none. They still get traded. There are people still dumb enough to buy them. Or unfortunately, you have the bag holders who pump the coin that they're stuck bag holding until enough dumb people get them to break even.
Well, I mean, we've seen Doge pump before, and it hasn't had development on it in years. Even the guy.
Look at BitConnect. The BitConnect coin. It literally has no use case now.
Yeah.
Literally no use case. Still not worth a penny. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just kind of goes to show that realistically, nothing ever goes to zero. Somebody's always willing to pay something for it. It's just, you know, do you have faith in something to continue to be useful, or are you bag holding, hoping that somebody's going to pick it up at a higher price? It's very much the crypto all-stars. It's that whole, if anybody's unfamiliar, there was like a provably scarce card trading game that was just like Twitter shit posters represented by a collectible card, and you could buy it and somebody could steal the card from you by paying double, but you would then get double. So a bunch of people jumped in. Hell, when it was like $20 a card, I was like, yeah, I'll dick around with this. But then all of a sudden you get into cards being like 5, 10, 20, 30 ETH for a single card. So there was one sitting basically $30,000 for a single like collectible card. Like, and then you're banking that somebody's going to pay 60. right? So like, and yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit of that, right? If it's not, if
The
it doesn't
things
have,
people do when they have money and no problems, man.
oh, I know, like it's if it doesn't have utility and you want to see your money again, then you've got to reevaluate where you're putting your money. Anyways, okay, I should wrap this up. Kenn,
Let's go check this out. Yeah.
yeah, can you let everybody know where they can find you? Where you know?
Yeah, guys. So I have a new podcast on pureblockchainwealth.com. You can check out the YouTube channel, Pure Blockchain Wealth. That's where I do my professional interviews. If you want the more lax, hangout sesh, fireside, go to Kenn Bosak. That's my YouTube, or KennBosak.com. And I do try to make little tutorials here and there, interviews, and talk a little bit about my opinion on the news. And thank you so much, bro, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. And guys, if you're still watching, stop watching and go watch this Tone Vays interview, because I'm sure it's going to be a good one. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time on the BTC Sessions.
Have a day.